Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm thrilled to have you here in our wonderful 1925 building. We have never, to my knowledge, used the reading room to host a lecture before. So I'm thrilled to be able to show off our historic building and our old reading room. This is usually our quiet study space. So you are displacing all of our hardcore studying students tonight. We've had to move them downstairs to the classroom. So hopefully they understand that this is a really important event to us, and I hope you enjoy the space and the event tonight. So welcome to Parks Library. I'm Hilary Seo, the Dean of the University Library, and I am so thrilled to be hosting you tonight for the lecture, Trice 100, The Name, the Legacy, as part of Iowa State's year-long commemoration of the life and legacy of Jack Trice. Next week, on October 11th, we'll be celebrating our 100th Cornerstone Day, marking a century since the cornerstone was set for this building just below us on the northeast corner. At that time, the main entrance faced the west, and the building, including this very room, was known as one of the finest pieces of architecture in the state. What a perfect setting for this evening's lecture. We'll be celebrating the building's official centennial from fall of 2024 to 2025. Today, the university is a research and learning powerhouse of world-class collections, services, and technologies. We support students and faculty success by providing access to affordable course materials, scientific research, and expertise in research design, data management, and publishing. We foster critical thinking by instructing our users on how to locate, evaluate, and apply information effectively. And yes, we still have books. Sadly, so much of our materials have moved towards electronic resources that all these shelves in the reading room used to be full of journals and magazines, but we've reduced down to this level of print journal materials since everything else has gone electric. Now it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's speakers. Jill Wagner was an Iowa State Student Body Vice President from 1974 to 1975 and President from 1975 to 1976. She was the first female elected to serve as President of the student body. Jill is a graduate of Industrial Administration from Iowa State and earned a Master's of Public Administration from Harvard. An active advocate for students during her time on campus, especially women, Jill was a key part of the student movement to honor Jack Trice with the naming of Iowa State University's stadium. Jill spent her career as a marketing executive in telecommunications industry. Now retired, she continues to mentor young women and be actively involved in the Minneapolis community. And here to share more of Jack's growing legacy is the executive director and president of the Trice Legacy Foundation, George Trice. George graduated with a BA in marketing from Iowa State and later completed his MBA in the same field from Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. He is an associate at Nationwide Insurance. In his spare time outside of golfing, coaching, and mentoring, he founded the Trice Legacy Foundation in 2020. This organization has provided technology grants to Black families and 3 scholarships to students around the country, starting with Jack Trice's high school, East Tech in Cleveland, Ohio. We'll hear from George later this evening, but first it is my pleasure to welcome Jill Wagner to the podium. Please join us, Jill.
You're good. Okay? No, you're good. You're good. Okay, who in the audience was here in 1973 through like 1979? Oh, good, several of us. And how many students are here either getting extra credit for a class or with GSB? Ah, they're in the back, okay. Well, this is for you. Now where is, okay. The history and stories behind getting our stadium named after Jack Trice is a civics lesson unto itself. It is a story of student activism over years and, in fact, decades. Even as leaders graduated, others picked up the baton and kept it going. Okay, Iowa was the first state in the country to sign on to the Mural Act after Abraham Lincoln signed it back in 1862. It was a radical idea back then that higher education should be available to all. There was a mural hall here at Iowa State back in our day. Football started at ISU in 1892. So it was 31 years later that the first black athlete landed at the land-grant University, Iowa State. Next point, the year 1919 was called Red Summer due to all the race rioting in the US. And it wasn't just in the South or out East. Chicago had much rioting and destruction in the city, as well as Omaha reported much rioting. The Tulsa Race Massacre happened in 1921. Again, back to kind of do the setup for the context of 1923. In 1920, there were 3 lynchings in Minnesota by a mob of over 1,000 people. The weekend of the football game 100 years ago at the University of Minnesota, there was a KKK convention in Minneapolis. It was homecoming and there was a KKK float in the parade. But after all happened at the football game, the U of M president wrote to Iowa State saying that he was at the game and there was nothing untoward Jack. It was just football. We, the students at Iowa State, say he was murdered with a capital M. Tom Emerson's article, and Tom's here tonight, in The Scientist didn't take off in 1957, but a lot of that was because it was the baby boom era post-World War II. So life in the baby boom generation is the 1946 to 1964. Life in the US of A was good. We had won the war. The economy was hot. People were buying new cars, new houses, and suburbs were springing up all over. Tom Emerson's article in The Scientist didn't take off, but it did stimulate a lot of discussion subsequently and was considered one of the root causes of, again, going after Jack Trice. Now, Jack's story takes off. What sociologists say, it's the 60s, was really 1965 to 1975. And why? The fall of Saigon happened in April 1975, the height of the Vietnam War. He died for our country was heard nightly on the evening news. Martin Luther King was assassinated in April 1968. I Have a Dream speech was in 63. But profoundly, what happened at that era, 1973, was the presidential election had for the first time 18, 19, and 20-year-olds voting. How could an 18-year-old be drafted and not be able to vote, was the thinking. I was 18 and 2 months in November of 1972, and I got to vote for the first time. The change for this was profound on campuses across the country. Carl Hamilton said there were only 2 universities where there was a student body president, and the student body president was an SDS member, Berkeley and Iowa State. Students for the Democratic Society, SDS, was a very left-wing group, but focused on democracy and mostly discussions. They went out protesting or marching. They had sit-ins, but the whole point of it was to sit down and discuss more. As undergraduates, we were no longer underage children to be taken care of by the administration, but we were voting adults, and our voices had to be heard. Clyde Williams Field had a reputation of rowdiness as the rule, not the exception. Me and several women GSB senators went after no glass or fruit to be allowed in the new stadium, given all the glass that was pitched and tossed at Clyde Williams Field. I'm seeing a bunch of people doing this. Literally, the first 2 rows of chairs or of bleachers were stacked with glass from beer glasses, beer bottles, and liquor bottles kind of thing. And at the fourth quarter, it was tossed and then they would break. It was just awful. So us girls wanted it out. Also, we got the bookstore to offer wine sacks for sale. I gave mine to the university. It was part of their backup. While I was campaigning, I heard from several women that they would not go to the library at night, especially from Richardson Court, because it was too dark and scary to walk home. A light meter and several of us walking campus at night determined that the walkways were underlit and did not meet code. Again, a woman talking to other women, and the issue came out, and the university fixed it immediately. I'm seeing it's shaking. Parking. We had plenty of parking, but it was all south of the Hilton Coliseum, so it was not convenient. So again, the big student voice was, how do we get more buses and get SciRide really going? Last, there were no women deans or VPs at Iowa State in the 70s. The secretaries took extra care of us students. What to wear? Be sure you wear your Monday night clothes when you come in for your meeting with so-and-so. Or, no, he's really not a morning person. It's best to have the meeting in the afternoon. Again, the secretaries took care of us. So we gave them a certificate as Friends of GSB. They were flabbergasted. A couple of slides later, I'll tell you why this was important. Now, I'm going to read this because this was a Trice Memorial tribute to Jack Trice, November 26, 1923. But we cannot allow men of other schools or other states to be authors of the finest appreciation of his life. The crowning tribute must come from the minds and hearts of this college, where he silently struggled and where his heroic life was uncovered by death, for the whole world to see and pattern after. Some tribute, some tangible thing, note that, some tangible thing, must be set up to the memory of Jack Trice. When all who comes into the influence of this memorial, whatever it may be, will experience the steadfastness of purpose which was Jack's. What form this tribute may best take cannot be known yet, but the thought and comments of a student body can earn it. The student body couldn't put this topic aside. In other words, the letters from, or the investigation from English 101 kind of struck the match, but then it was the students and this finding this, because this was printed in the scrapbook, that really lit the torch for all of us to kind of go after it. You know most of this. I want to focus on the last point, which is perhaps it was a history class or a speech class, but more maybe, again, the English 101. But back in the day, we knew that Jack was not allowed to live in the dorms, and we viewed it as a huge injustice, and it just added to our determination to do something for Jack. Okay, again, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds could vote in 1972. In 1973, the idea hits to name the new stadium after Jack, and the idea erupts, and it takes off all across campus. On the ballot, when I was elected GSB president, was a question on what to name the new stadium, and 70% wanted Jack Trice. Also, faculty groups wrote resolutions, student clubs sent Parks letter, all in again to try and get the name after Jack Trice. Okay, and yes, that's my signature there. It's pretty much the way it is today. And then that's the scrapbook that I mentioned earlier. Again, big focus by GSB and this committee that we created to really go after the Jack Trice Stadium. We actually mailed the scrapbook to a lot of newspapers. We sent it to Crawl down at the Des Moines Register, and he was just a huge champion for us. Okay. Several students, either on the committee or the senators, went to every house in Richardson Court, the towers, all the dorms, to get signatures showing support for the name. They set up a table in Memorial Union. There's a fun story there, but I won't go into detail. And Panhandle gave them to all the Greek houses. Also, it wasn't just GSB, but it was other student organizations like this one, which is Richardson Court, there on your right. First game in the new stadium, I was part of the student security team checking for bottles and fruit. We were ushering in a new era. Then, in the spring of that school year, President Parks set up a naming committee. We met twice and voted on the second meeting. The vote was 11-3 in favor of Cyclone Stadium. The 3 votes were the 3 students on the committee, and the 11 were the faculty and staff. We thought there was so much political pressure for those, quote unquote, employed by the university to vote how Parks wanted them to vote. When I got a call from one of the secretaries, one of our friends at GSB, "You don't know who this is." "Oh, yes, I do." "No, you don't know who this is." "Okay, the administration is heading down to the Board of Regents meeting at Council Bluffs to recommend Cyclone Stadium be named." 8 of us piled into a station wagon. Myself, the VP Don Morris, a senator who collected many of the signatures for Jack Trice Stadium, and several other senators. The station wagon is one of those blue-finned, ones that was baby blue and white kind of thing. And we piled in there, drove down. They were a little surprised when we walked in. President Parks presented his case, and then we presented ours. All the signatures, the votes, the resolution. Jack is an inspiration, a hero, was my point. Then VP Morris said, he died for this university. Much like we heard on the evening news, he died for this country. The Board of Regents, Steve Zumbach, a former GSB president and current student getting his master's at Iowa State, said you can't be on campus and not feel the support of Jack Trice Stadium. I'll never forget what happened next. Another regent does one of these, like, how can we name something we don't own? And it was kind of like one of those where, okay, if there is no meeting of the minds and there's not any hope of meeting of the minds, how do we change the subject? So the Board of Regents voted to table the naming of the stadium until the university owned it, because it was owned by the foundation. The vote was 6-3. They rented it to the university for $1 a year. We won that round. It was critical to keep the pressure on naming it Jack Trice Stadium, but we drove home absolutely singing. So the whole focus was to keep it going, and the students really did. They basically, this was a billboard at Iowa State, this was the airplane banner, They wore armbands, to basically say that this is what we want because this is what we're doing, and they kept it going. This was in 80, 81, and 84. So again, it just never stopped. Parks had offered this compromise when I was GSB president, but we had said no because we wanted top billing. We didn't want to be second. The statue, which GSB commissioned, was then installed in 1988, was a brilliant idea to keep Jack Trice and his story available and front and center for all on campus. Donald Krall was a big supporter when I was with GSB, and he kept it up in his columns at the Register. He even called me to compliment all of us students at the WIN at the Board of Regents meeting back in '76, just like the students kept the topic going. GSB kept the pressure up, and I got a call from President Jeske in the end of 1996 and said, "What would you think if I recommended to the Regents renaming the stadium Jack Trice Stadium?" And my reply was, "Well, it's about blank time. You can fill in the blank." And yes, there was an expletive. He went on to tell me that the students never gave it up, and he had even called former President Parks to ask him what he would think if he recommended Jack Trice Stadium. Parks' reply was, "It's one of those few times that the students were right." He said Jeske should go forward and rename it. Before we hung up, I told Jeske that I needed to be there for the dedication. The roar from the student section when the curtain dropped, revealing Jack Trice Stadium, was memorable. 24 years of students roaring at that they finally got what they had focused on. Now, to you GSB students, and all the students here tonight, you have to keep it going too. October 8th should become a university holiday. It doesn't have to be no classes, but there should be lectures, a commemoration on Central Campus, campanile ringing at 3 o'clock, anything that you think would be inspirational for you, and the means to educate the new students on campus so all know the Jack Trice story. I hope this Jack Trice commemoration will inspire a new generation of students at Iowa State to explore the Jack Trice story and encourage students at all other colleges and universities to learn more about their barrier-breaking Black athletes as well. Thank you.
"16 slides, Jill, huh? 16 slides. I have 2. There's one. More than just football, John Trice. Oh, I hit the wrong button. So they told you who I am, but I'm going to tell you again who I am. So I am a first cousin of Jack Trice. My grandfather was Jack's first cousin. I am not touching anything. The laptop is starting over. All right. My hair was fuller and my beard was darker at that time. I came here in 1998, but my first time here was in '97. My grandfather, my Uncle Nelson, and my cousin Chester Jr. Didn't tell me much about Jack Trice. I was 8 years old when they came out here to unveil the statue, and at that time, I had chicken pox, and I couldn't come, so I had to stay home with my mom, and didn't know anything about it. '97, as Jill showed, they renamed the stadium. Every morning before class, I went to go talk to my football coach, who was an English teacher as well, and he read the paper every day, and I never cared what he was talking about. Just sat there. This day was a little different. The Cleveland Plain Dealer had an article in there. They're renaming a stadium Jack Trice Stadium. And he looked, I think you're related. It's that same last name. It can't be that many Trices, but I don't know. And so took that article home, showed my mom and said, hey, Mom, this article is out there. Do you know anything about it? She went downstairs and she pulled out the original Jet magazine from that year. Stevie Wonder's on the cover of that Jet magazine, and I still have the original magazine in mint condition. We auctioned one off at our golf event a couple years ago because I wanted somebody else to have that piece of history as well. That's when I found out about Jack Trice, but did not really know the meaning of who Jack Trice was and what he did. And so I called the university and said, hey, I think I'm related to this guy named Jack Trice. What do you think? And I left this message, and about 3 days later, I got a phone call. And they said, yes, you're a first cousin twice removed. That picture that was shown of the statue and the students out there unveiling the statue, there's a gentleman here, I think that was part of that time frame. He was with my grandfather and my uncle Nelson and my cousin Chester to unveil it. I don't like calling people out, so I'm not going to call him out. He knows who he is. But that was a special moment to still be connected to that gentleman to this day. And so I still didn't know the brevity of who Jack Trice was until many years later, many years later. I came here as a student and I looked and said, hey, stadium has my name on it. Basically, I don't have to play football and I can do whatever I want to do. So I was really that student athlete. I didn't have to beat myself up. I got to work out with the team. So I got everything, all those benefits, but I also had a lot of pressure because I had to realize who Trice was, who I was. And so I had to really accept that pressure. And people that know me here, I never used my last name when I was on campus. My friends did, of course, when they wanted to get in. I'm just George. I'm a student. I'm George. Because I wanted people to like me and know me for who I was, not who they thought I was or what they thought I could get them. That's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. There's a Hawkeye fan in here, too. That's one of my good friends because I'm a people person. But it's about me just connecting with people. And I think that's what Jack did initially, is he connected with people, came out here with his coach, 5 of his teammates, and came to this unknown place. Before this meeting, we had cornbread for dinner. Cornbread is now at the bus depot or the train depot where Jack landed in Ames, Iowa. Kind of crazy. So there's a documentary being done, and I've had some filming there. And it's just weird to think of a young black man coming to Iowa and standing right where I was standing. And again, it took me a long time to understand who he was, who I was. I will say that it really didn't hit me until I've always been a good guy. I've always had morals. I've always had standards and treating people better than they need to be, than you want to be treated. Treat them do one step more, do one thing better. That's all it's about. It's about just having that moral compass in general. Again, Jack was ahead of his time. My phone is dying, so hopefully this goes through, but Jack's letter tells you everything about who he was and who he was going to be. That's all you need to know about Jack Trice. Everything's in that letter. I'm going to read a couple pieces because this is why you saw my logo up there. Trice Legacy on everything is where I do a lot of my work supporting Jack and continuing on his legacy. But what he said in his letter, and this is what inspires me, the honor of my race, family, and self are at stake. Everyone is expecting me to do big things, I will. My whole body and soul will be trying to do more than my part. On all defensive plays, I must break through the opponent's line, stop the play in their territory. Beware of mass interference. Fight low with your eyes open and toward the play. Bend your toes every minute if you expect to do good. Jack was talking about the game he was going to play the next day. But he wasn't talking about the game he was playing the next day. He was talking about life. He was talking about the obstacles he was already going through, the things that he felt he had to overcome. Again, we learned that he couldn't stay on the dorms. He had to live downtown. He had to ride a different train car up to Minnesota, stay in a different hotel, the Curtis Hotel. All the things that we today are in this room together and can do freely, he could not. We talk about him being murdered. I hear different stories about that day. We talk about the KKK rally. I hear people say that the fans were cheering that he was getting trampled, he was getting attacked. But I also hear stories that say the fans were saying, we're sorry, we're sorry. They knew what was going on. We weren't there. I have not heard the audio. There's no video. We will never really know. But I do know when Iowa State played the Insight.com Bowl against Minnesota, Jack Trice spirit was raised. And that's what was going around that stadium. I was at that game. People were saying Jack has been avenged. I want to go future forward. I told you about what he put in his letter. But I want to talk about why I started the Trice Legacy Foundation. I started about 3 years ago. We just went into our 4th year. And it came out of tragedy, just like Jack's story came out of tragedy. 2020, year of COVID. I turned 40. I think I got COVID early before it was even a thing. I was down at the Whiskey Trail, the Bourbon Trail, and I was at Buffalo Trace, and me and my wife got sick, and we're in a hotel room for 2 days. So I think I got COVID early. So I had a lot of time to sit and think. But also during that time, social injustice was running rampant because that's when George Floyd was murdered. Those things triggered a lot of events during that time. 2020, my son was 7. He's 10 now. I lost track of time. COVID did that. So we were sitting there one day and Black Lives Matter across the TV. A 7-year-old's reading Black Lives Matter. And what is that, Daddy? I shouldn't have to explain to my 7-year-old son what Black Lives Matter. But because we were stuck in the house and watching TV all the time, watching the news, seeing what was going on in the real world, that's what we saw. I went to the gym a couple weeks later. I went to the gym and he wanted me to buy him a Ryan's World toy. Ryan's World is this little kid on YouTube. If you have grandkids or kids, they know what Ryan's World is. This little kid's making money and his stuff's a piece of crap. It's the cheapest thing. It's like the toys at McDonald's now. They used to be good. They're not good anymore. I go to McDonald's a lot too. I got a 5 and a 10-year-old. But he makes all this money. So I go to the gym, I come home, and my wife's like, I want to tell you what your son said. I said, what did he say? He said, tell him what you said, buddy. He said, well, Daddy, you said that I couldn't get any Ryan's World toys and I should make my own toys. But people aren't going to buy my toys because I'm black. 7-year-old kid saying that to me. And I said, why do you say that, buddy? Well, you see on the TV, all this stuff's going on. I'm tearing up right now. So I'm like, no, buddy, like, let's go Facebook Live. I went live. And I said, hey, people, my son is here, 7 years old, and he says that he is not going to make his own toys. He's not going to do anything that's going to better him because he doesn't think people will support him because he's black. And I said, Izzy, did I just lie? And he said, no, he didn't want to be on camera. I said, so talk to me and tell me about it. He didn't want to be on camera. I'm talking to him, and he tells why. Cut the video off, read the comments later. Izzy, I'll buy your toy. His name's Israel. We call him Izzy. I'll buy your toys. I'd buy your toys. And I said, buddy, you just got to believe that you can do it. Go a couple weeks later, someone on Facebook has posted comparing and contrasting Jack Trice to George Floyd. And an ex-Iowa State track guy that was my friend tagged me on this post. I said, hey. He said, what do you think of this? I said, you know what? Let me take a little bit and think about this and how I'm going to respond. My first response, the first words that were on that post were, don't ever put my cousin and George Floyd in the same sentence. Wasn't in a negative way, but it was to show the fact that Jack was going out there to do something more noble. George Floyd was in the wrong place, wrong time, did something negative to have the event started. His death was untimely and his murder was not fair. But the circumstances of their deaths were different. Jack was playing a game. Football is a game. I've played football. It's fun. That's what it is. But people have a passion for it. And when that happened, I said, you know what? I have to do something. I had coached my son since he was 3 years old in various sports. I had been a mentor at Nationwide. I've been with Nationwide for 17 years and mentored people from there. I was the president of our associate resource group, the National Network of Black Associates. Had always done this kind of stuff. My stepdad taught me that. He was a banker, and he used to teach kids on Saturdays, mentor them, teach them finance. So I started learning a few things then, and I'd always wanted to give back. ESPN and CBS were at my house that year because that's when they were doing the stories on Jack Trice because, again, social injustice was a hot topic. Everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon. I said, why not me? I said, if they're going to have me, bless you. I said, if they're going to have me on TV, come to my house, film me to talk about Jack, film Gene Smith, who I still talk to about Jack, film Jeff Johnson about Jack. What do they want to know? And so when I looked at that, I said, it is probably time for me to do something more. And so in June, I said, let's start a scholarship fund. Went on Facebook and said, hey, somebody want to give me money to start this thing? I had no LLC. I had no website. I had nothing. Just, hey, who's interested in helping me with this? 20 people of my then 800 friends donated. It got me started. I even had one friend call me and say, hey, George, I only give $5 right now. I'm in a hard spot, but I believe in what you're doing. And the thing I said to her was, never in your life apologize to me for giving what you could. 780 people didn't give anything. You gave $5. Don't apologize for what you could do at that time for something you believed in. And I'm always asking people for money, and I got to find the right way to do it. I'm not asking y'all for money, but think about it. And so when I looked at that, I said, okay, this will get me started. And it was really to get an endowed scholarship at Iowa State. And there's some donors in here that have been a part of that. And as I started looking at it, started digging into it, I realized that that was going to short the dream and of what I had for Jack. Love Iowa State. Came here in 98. Love here. I'm trying to move back here, so keep that in mind as well. But I'm like, I'm going to short myself a little bit by doing that. How can I make it broader? Because I didn't want to lose contact to these kids. One of the things is that I can ask you for your treasure all day, but I need the time too. I need the support. I need the mentorship because they have to have somebody to help them through. I know how tough it was for me. I was the first Trice to go to college in 75 years. First one in my family. My mom went to nursing school and did a little bit, but never got a degree, but she was a PRN. This was on me. My grandfather took me to the store and bought me a compact computer, all in one. So I had it in my room with a printer and everything you could have for it so I could be on the same playing field as everybody else and get a good education. It was important to him. He never had it, but he was a business-minded man. He knew how important it was for this. Again, he came here in 1988. Today, the 21st of September was going into our 4th year. Like we said, we've given out 3 scholarships and some technology grants. I have people sending me laptops that have been refurbished from businesses, tablets, whatever we can do to help the kids, because it's about increasing the diversity at Iowa State, at UNI, at Drake, at all the colleges and universities in Iowa, because it was where Jack was. Jack's plan was to go back down south and teach ex-slaves how to sharecrop and make money doing what they've been doing for free. That was his goal that was taken from him. His life was taken from him. His opportunity to pursue his goals was taken from him. So how can we help others? And so that is where I come to say, we are here, as I put his government name up here, John Trice, to complete the man. Before this tonight, I was over at admissions, and you probably have seen this, but I never can say the word right, but a post-mortem or post-mortis degree, posthumous, yes, that one. I'm not going to even say it. Here's the mic. He will be presented that on Sunday. Jack is now an alumni of Iowa State. Jeff Johnson will be presenting that on Sunday at the event. It took a lot of time to get that done, but it's completing him as a person because he was a student athlete. He came here, lived, worked, breathed, helped Iowa. And we have to get that student part back. And we have to give people the help and the support that they need. And that's where the Trice Legacy Foundation comes into play. And I'm not a native of Iowa, so I don't get into the whole Iowa State rivalry. I don't like Iowa when we're playing them. But I have my wife's from Cedar Rapids. Her whole family tries to put my kids in Iowa Hawkeye gear, and I take it right off. I'm from Cleveland. I don't like the Steelers. I don't like black and gold. That's what it is. And I'm going to be... I just can't stand it. So when I look at that, I'm like, but we got to help everybody. It's about increasing diversity, as I said. And again, his legacy would be that. And it's about, again, helping others that can't help themselves or don't have the opportunity. Affirmative action has gone away. Makes it a little bit harder for black students to get in. We have joined the Chamber of Commerce here in Ames. Tomorrow we'll be doing a ceremonial ribbon cutting. We want to be in the community. We joined Des Moines, Ames, Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. Our next stops, Waterloo and Davenport. Chamber of Commerce's. We have to meet people that are in need where they are. And that's what the foundation aims to do. Nationwide, 17 years. It's my 9 to 5. A 5 and a 10-year-old, that's my 5 to 9. That's all 24 hours I got. But I do this in my spare time by myself. But I have people that support. I have boots on the ground here. And together we can make a difference, because individually it's hard, but together we can make that difference. And so that's why my whole goal with the foundation is to complete Jack as a man. Iowa State Athletics has done a good job of keeping his name in the forefront. And I'm not going to go into detail about that, but they've done a good job at that standpoint. The university has done a great job of keeping his legacy going. And the past 4 years have shown that. Renaming a street Jack Trice Way, a new installment of Breaking Barriers, getting him a that degree. Being here tonight with you all for this lecture, being here this whole weekend for the things that are culminating and happening. For me to be able to hear President Winterstein read the letter just like 100 years ago. It's October 5th. It happened 100 years ago. And so these are the things that the Trice Legacy Foundation has to do, and it has to be about more than athletics. And part of the reason I say that is if you have a suite and you look at your ticket, or you look at any ticket, Mid-American Field at Jack Trice Stadium. We've gone backwards a little bit because of the money. I don't know if I can say that or not. I don't work for the university, so I'm going to say it anyway. But now Mid-American has kind of overpowered and overshadowed Jack's name, because Jack's not putting money there. Jack has passed. It's a memorial to him, but it's Mid-American Field at Jack Trice Stadium. You can't put that first, in my mind. Honoring him with this degree, having these installments there, it continues this. But it can't take 75 years for it to go again. And what Jill said is about the students, October 8th being a holiday. Jack would not have been able to finish the season had he lived. At least 4 schools did not want to play against Ames College with a black student on the team. Once Jack passed, when we wrote the letters back to those schools, because it took a long time to get letters back and forth, look a little time, we no longer have a black player on our team. The game can go on. Jack's death, the game Saturday, is the start. Number 37 that we found out, Steve Jones is found at 37. Jack Trice still needs to be remembered at every game after, because he would not have been able to be there had the season continued. So I see it's a nice Jack Trice Stadium shirt in the back there. You know who I'm talking to. So I have that shirt at home. These 5 bars, these Ames commemorative, these are things that are only possible because of Jack Trice. There would not be a commemorative collection had there been no Jack Trice. Iowa State was 1954. You look at those things and how they're honoring Jack with those things and what we're doing now for the library. But Saturday, wear Jack Trice. The following Saturday, represent Jack Trice, because you need to have him there at every game that he wasn't going to be able to play. Because again, had he lived, we may not be having this conversation. So doing more than your part is what Jack was about. So whether you donate and your time to the animal shelter, you donate your time to mentoring, you donate whatever you donate your time or your treasure to, it's about doing more to your part. Finding what's happy, what makes you happy. That is all it's about. That's what Jack wanted to do. Go back down south and teach ex-slaves how to sharecrop is what he wanted to do. His parents, born of slave parents. Going to Ohio, farming towns, that's what it was. He wanted to help people. So my only thing is about every time you do something, I'm going to call out Doug Jeske right now, because yesterday Doug closed his offices down as a day of caring, a day of being out in the community, a day of giving back to honor Jack Trice. Closed down his business to do that. And we have to do more of that. We have to, again, help people. That's all it's about. John Trice is the whole person, not just Jack as we know him. but continuing as the whole person from the student and the athlete side.
That was wonderful. Thank you, George and Jill. I'm Greg Bailey, the head of Special Collections and University Archives. Our department cares for a large range of materials, including rare books, photographs, audio and film recordings, artifacts, historical documents, to just name a few. Our collections include a wide variety of topics, including agriculture and life science, rural life, engineering, technology, and Iowa State University history. We collect and preserve these materials to enhance scholarship and to help researchers understand the past and its relationship to the present. At this time, I'd like to invite George and Jill back up on stage and to take questions from the audience. Please raise your hand if you're interested in asking a question, and my colleague Susan will be around with a mic. Please do wait for the mic to come to you before asking the question. Thank you.
Anyone? Come on, students in the back. Come on.
They're getting extra credit for this?
Extra credit. Come on.
We will call your teachers and tell them that minus points if you do not ask a question.
I have a question. On Iowa Public Radio yesterday, they had a show about Jack Trice, a program, and they mentioned that he was a member of a black fraternity on campus, but the university wouldn't allow them to have a fraternity house. But I'd never heard that before. That apparently was true then.
It is true. Toya is back there. Toya Younger's back there. And if you're going to be at the ceremony on Sunday, the culmination, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is a collaboration between, because there were not enough students for a chapter, Drake and Iowa State were the chapter that made up that segment of the Alpha Phi Alpha. So they will be there presenting something special that they do for past alphas at the event on Sunday. I can't say it right because I'm not part of it, but that's what they say.
And my understanding is it wasn't the university that said they couldn't have a house. It was local wouldn't sell them a house.
Ma'am, could you ask that?
I'm glad you asked, Kay. Kay is my best friend's mom. Love you, Kay. So on Sunday, there will be an event, a ceremony. Jill had a picture of the students sitting out by the Campanile. So the Campanile will be, it's not a reenactment, but it's a culmination. So at noon, you'll be there to hear the reading of the letter by Dr. Winterstein, or President Winterstein. I will be up there giving 5 minutes this time, like 3 or 5 minutes. Jill will be up there introducing one of the student athletes that has earned the Jack Trice Endowed Scholarship through athletics. Anthony Johnson Jr. won that last year, and this gentleman won it. The Alphas will be presenting, and then they will be presenting the family with the post degree. I'm not going to try to say it. I just can't. It doesn't roll off the tongue. But that's what's going on Sunday, and then there'll be a reception afterwards where you'll be able to see some of the things that were at the fair and some of the. I don't know if the tower is going to be at the Ames Museum here, but the tower that Ames Museum has had the traveling exhibit may be there as well. But that's what's going on Sunday, and then at 3 o'clock.
We still also have an exhibit at the
the library. All these library people better come out there too. There will be an exhibit there, Mr. Bailey has told me. But then at 3 o'clock, there will be another Jack died at 3 o'clock. How many bells are at the Campanile? I'm going to give a polo to anybody that knows how many current bells are at the Campanile. How many? 50? All right, you win. I don't know if that's right, but you win. I have no clue. But there will be something special at 3 o'clock with the 10 original bells that rang when Jack died.
question right at the back.
One of our extra credit students.
Oh, yes, good.
I want peace unto all. I have a question for George, and I am Abdul Mohammed. I'm a graduate student on a non-degree seeking program this semester. I would like to propose for the university to have a course with a credit that shares Jack Trice's experiences.
I want to. This is going to be. This is not a joke, everybody, but it's going to be funny, and you're going to laugh. You have a great idea, and I say this because if Taylor Swift can have a class after her at ASU and somewhere in California, this is a little deeper than Taylor Swift. Not America's Sweetheart. I know she's America's Sweetheart. I'm not saying anything about Taylor Swift. But the lecture series, breaking down maybe parts of what Jack's legacy means and have an interpretation from other students to find out, or how to continue that would be something. So I appreciate and like that idea. I'm not in charge of that, but I know that people are taking notes. So thank you for that suggestion.
Okay. Okay.
Any last questions? Okay. Thank you all. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Seo back up here to the, yes, Jill, please come back up here for some closing remarks. And we have a special presentation from Dean Seo. Oh, yeah, sure.
Choreography. Nope. Did I time out? Nope, I'm okay. Choreography is hard. Would you please join me in a round of applause thanking Jill and George once again? So we do have a little thank you gift for our speakers tonight. As a show of our appreciation from Iowa State University, we have a facsimile of a promotional poster created by students in 1980 that was used to garner support for the naming of Jack Trice Stadium. And I have good news for all of you. The University Library has made a limited number of these special prints available for everyone in audience this evening. You may get your commemorative poster at the reception that follows this event. It is downstairs in our lobby area on the first floor. So please join us for refreshments and viewing of the Special Collections and University Archives exhibit Once, Twice, Trice. Students tackle, this is like the hardest title to pronounce, okay. Once, Twice, Trice. Students tackle naming Jack Trice Stadium, and Jack's original I Will letter will be on display as well. And one note for our students, remember to swipe your card in order to get, what? Go to Amanda? Go see Amanda. Swipe your card to get extra credit. And speaking of Amanda, our director of University Lectures, I want to thank the University Lectures for also supporting this program tonight. Thank you and good night.
Wow. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So good with that?